Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nick Diamantis, and we welcome you to the first ever edition of our Tunnel to Towers Foundation Student Athlete Advocate Roundtable broadcast. Since the Foundation's inception in 2001, Tunnel to Towers Foundation has always made it its mission to honor and commemorate the heroic acts of those who have sacrificed their lives protecting others on and after September 11th, 2001. Since the summer of 2021, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation has been proud to collaborate with charismatic student athletes across the nation who serve as brand ambassadors, representing the foundation to the media, donors, and our sponsors. Tonight, donors and followers of the Tunnel to Towers Foundation will get the chance to meet 6 of our phenomenal student athlete ambassadors, and hopefully you will get the chance to interact with them at our events for years to come. Without further ado, let's meet our student athlete advocates. Our first ambassador is a Woodstock, Georgia native with a bachelor's degree in political science from Stanford University. He then proceeded to play one last football season at Appalachian State, where he received a graduate certificate in nonprofit administration. Please welcome Stuart Head.
Hey there, I'm Stuart Head. I was a football player at Stanford and App State. My interest, the Tunnel to Towers, grew over the years, kind of learning about the story and hearing about it more. As a foundation gained a lot of popularity, Steven Siller's story really engaged me and interests me. When NIL rights were granted to athletes, college athletes in particular, I wanted to use my influence in a way that many weren't yet, specifically to do good, and what better than with my favorite nonprofit in Tunnel to Towers. I don't have any personal connection to first responders or military, but this is kind of my way to have that family of people who are. So it's been a great experience so far.
This Highland Mills, New York native is a rising senior basketball player at Hartwick College. Majoring in psychology, this student athlete advocate has played over 32 minutes per game in 23 contests for his team and scored a career-high 23 points this past January. Please welcome Nicholas Eiler.
How you doing, everybody? My name is Nicholas Eiler. I'm a rising senior at Hartwick College in Oneonta, New York. My father did 24 years in the NYPD in the 4-6 and the 3-4. T2T has always been a very important program to him, and when my sister reached out and told me that they're doing the Advocate program, I applied that day, and it's been an amazing experience ever since, and I'm extremely grateful for it.
Our next ambassador had an incredible 4-year career on the Bucknell baseball squad, with accolades including Patriot League batting title and being a 2-time Patriot League All-First Team selection. Born and raised in Staten Island, New York, this advocate is continuing his collegiate baseball career at Virginia Tech next season as a graduate student. Please welcome Chris Canizaro.
What's up, everyone? My name is Chris Canizaro. I just graduated Bucknell University. I was a baseball player there, and I'm continuing my education and baseball career at Virginia Tech in the fall. My father was a fireman in the FDNY. He worked at Ladder 101 in Red Hook, Brooklyn, and he lost his life on 9/11. So I know I have a really special connection to the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. I'm really proud to represent them, and so far it's been amazing, and I look forward to attending many more events and continuing with this great foundation.
Our next 3 ambassadors joined the Tunnel to Towers Foundation this past spring. This T2T advocate is a rising redshirt junior lacrosse player at Coastal Carolina University. This Babylon, New York native has accumulated 71 goals and 60 assists in her 2 seasons with the Chanticleers. In 2020, Downey was teammates with fellow T2T student athlete advocate Kaylin Hart during her lone season with the Seawolves. Please welcome Kayla Downey.
Hi everyone, my name is Kayla Downey. I am a rising senior at Coastal Carolina where I play lacrosse, and I am studying to be a physical education major. My uncle Chuck is currently a staff chief in the FDNY. He just got promoted. And my uncle Joe runs Special Operations Command in the FDNY, representing my grandfather, who was a deputy chief who was killed on 9/11. So this foundation has meant so much to me, and I look forward to representing it more in the future.
Our next ambassador is a rising junior lacrosse player at the University of Colorado. This Brewster, New York native was a 2020 graduate of Brewster High, where she earned 4 letters on the lacrosse team and 3 as a field hockey team member. After sitting out her freshman year, she made her collegiate debut this past spring. Please welcome Danielle Heinz.
Hi, I'm Danielle Heinz. I am a rising junior at the University of Colorado, and I'm part of the women's lacrosse team. My dad is a firefighter for the New Rochelle Fire Department, and the Tunnel to Towers Foundation has been a big part of my life as I have participated in many events with my field hockey team in honor of Christopher Blackwell, who was a resident of our community and lost his life during the 9/11 attacks. And I'm really excited to continue working with the Tunnel to Towers Foundation.
And last but certainly not least, he is a rising sophomore soccer player at the Virginia Military Institute. This Kings Park, New York native featured in 12 games off the bench during his first season with the Keydets as a defenseman. The biology major intends to serve with the United States Army as a U.S. Medical Corps branch member after his collegiate career. Please welcome Connor McGovern.
Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Connor McGovern. I'm a rising sophomore as a cadet at the Virginia Military Institute. I'm on the men's soccer team there, and my grandfather was an NYPD officer while my dad was growing up and has since retired, and I'm extremely grateful for the opportunity to work with the Tunnel to Towers Foundation in order to give back to people that have served the community like my grandfather had.
And now that I've introduced to you all 7 of our student athlete advocates, we're excited to now kick off the open discussion portion of today's broadcast. Our first question goes to our first-time ambassador, Stuart Head. Stuart, tell the audience when you first were notified about Tunnel to Towers' new student athlete program, what initially drew you in, and what ultimately led you to join with the program.
Yeah, so when, like I said about NIL rights, I was thinking about kind of where I wanted to use my influence on my end. I thought about Tunnel to Towers immediately and where my priorities lie. So I actually reached out to Larry Olson, who is the director of marketing at Tunnel to Towers and is now a great friend of mine. And he really recruited me to kind of be that first ambassador of the Student Athlete Advocate program. And I went all in with it, and it ended up being a great experience, and I'm going to keep going. It's one of those programs that Larry said, and Mr. Stiller says that once you're in for life, and I'm very proud of that. I'm thankful for Larry in recruiting me and everyone else, part of the staff that made the program happen. And I'm also thankful to be in it with these other great athletes and ambassadors.
Chris and Nick, you guys were part of the second group of accepted student athletes into our program. Talk to us about some of that application time. What were your first thoughts about the program, and what were you excited to do if you were accepted?
Yeah, for me it kind of started. So me and Nick actually go back a little bit. I used to play baseball with his little brother Alex for the longest time, and Alex actually reached out to me, told me about the program, and told me that I should definitely apply. And as soon as I found out about the program, I immediately applied. I couldn't be more excited to be a part of it. I think it definitely helps me to live out my dad's legacy and to spread his message and his story with more people. And I definitely just want to continue to help spread the message, help make sure that people never forget the sacrifices that people made. So that's what I was super excited to do by joining the foundation, and I look forward to continue to do it.
So I was sitting there and my sister reached out and sent me the advocate program. I've heard my father talk about it before and how much it means to him. So I immediately applied and did some more research on it, and I ended up surprising my father when I got accepted. So it was a really cool moment to see that. I agree with Chris. I just want to continue spreading the message and make sure no one ever forgets. Just never forget it.
So Kayla, Connor, and Danielle, you guys were introduced as our spring 2022 class of student athlete advocates. What were some of the things that you noticed right away that motivated you to want to apply to our program?
So I had first seen the Tunnel to Towers advocate program from my friend Kaylin Hart, who I was at Stony Brook with, and she had posted something about it, and I was interested. So I reached out to her, and I wanted to represent my grandfather, who was killed on the 9/11 attacks, as well as my 2 uncles who are still in the fire department, and I just wanted to make it proud for my family.
Yeah, I actually found out about the advocate program through social media. My mom sent me something on Instagram and said, "This looks like a great opportunity. You should look into it." So I did some research, saw what the other advocates were doing, and I decided to apply that same day. And then I got accepted and just thought it'd be a great opportunity to join and help spread awareness for the cause.
Yeah, so when I was looking at like all that NIL like offers and stuff, I was trying to figure out like what I wanted to do. I really wanted to use this opportunity to like do something for the community and find a different way. And one day an Instagram thing came up and I jumped at this opportunity and really wanted to be a part of this mission and program and what they really put out there. So I applied and got accepted, and I'm really excited to be a part of this continuing forward.
So now that you guys are more familiar with the content that we've been producing for this program, what are some different ideas or different ways that you'd like to see the program evolve in spreading the mission of the Tunnel to Towers Foundation?
I think there's a bunch of different ways, and we have a lot of creative ambassadors part of this program. Specifically from my end, I'm now a former athlete, so kind of taking what I learned as an ambassador and an advocate as an athlete and bring that into the professional world with some of my colleagues, as well as how kind of my company and other companies in the area or across the country can participate just like our student athletes do. That's definitely my priority in expanding kind of the cause and the mission, but also keeping in touch with athletes that are still in college and really using their NIL rights in a way that does good, just like I tried to when I was still playing. So really using social media, some of the creative ways that are out there now with the different apps. I'll certainly do that maybe in a more professional setting. With LinkedIn, I go pretty heavily on there. But yeah, just pushing people to kind of follow suit of what we're kind of laying the foundation for in the program, spreading the message overall. So,
what are some of the ways that you guys can amplify that message and providing an essential voice on our social media channels?
Yeah, I think being student athletes, I think we reach an audience that maybe some other people can't reach. I think there's people that might either look up to us or definitely are fans of the sports teams and watch our games. And I think that when they see the content we put out, it kind of gauges their interest and makes them look into it and stuff like that. So I think it's really cool that we as student athletes are finally able to use our platform to push the message. And I think it's cool that fans of our teams can look at that stuff and gauge their interest.
Yeah, I agree with Chris. I know that when I was growing up as a kid, I was always looking at professional athletes and college athletes' social media, trying to use them as an example. And now I'm just grateful to have the opportunity to do that for the younger kids that are looking up to us.
So you all have now been a part of our program for at least a few months now. Talk to me about some of the reception that you've received from your fellow peers once you decided to join the program.
Yeah, of course, my family supported me going into Tunnel to Towers all in, being part of the Student Athlete Advocate Program. It's honestly one of the most well-received actions I've ever done. Testament to the cause that the foundation is out to seek and solve. Friends specifically who are active military vets, who are actively first responders, kind of eye-opening for them, and I think they received me warmly, kind of supporting what they did or do, and really kind of pushing for a great cause. And that's what Tunnel to Towers is all about, and I truly believe that. And this cause is one of the best that's out there, and certainly you're always going to get a warm welcome, and so you should if you're going to support Tunnel to Towers.
The reception I've received from joining this program was phenomenal. At my school, I've had different people coming up to me that I've never talked to, coaching staffs, students, people in town. It's just sparks a cool conversation. I think that's a way you can never forget and keep things going. The reception has been phenomenal so far.
So Nick, that's great that the reception that you've been getting is really positive. What are some of the things that you've discussed with some of those peers who were interested in the work that you're doing with our foundation, and did that drive them to look further into the programs that we have?
Yeah, so I'll tell a specific story about my coach. He has a story relating to 9/11 with his father. He's always wanted to do events, just never really did them. So he actually told me that I inspired him to do the 5K run coming up. So that was a really cool thing that he maybe just needed a little push, but he's able to honor his father and honor everybody else. So pretty cool.
And I know you, Chris and Kayla, have very specific stories of family members who were there at 9/11, Chris and Kayla, I can give you the opportunity to talk about those stories and how powerful they have been towards you, to your other family members, family friends. What does that do to you in trying to provide that message to other people who should get more involved and just don't know how to?
Yeah, so definitely a personal connection, with my dad being a firefighter who lost his life that day. To me, he's a hero. I just want to be like him. My family has told me hundreds of stories just how good of a guy he was and how everybody liked him. And there wasn't anybody who didn't. So it means the world to me to be able to work with this foundation and live out his legacy because I know he'd be really proud of me working with you guys. So it's awesome to be a part of. And I think just continuing to push the message across to the younger generation so they don't forget, obviously my dad, but everybody who lost their lives that day, all the first responders. I think it's really important that their stories are always told and never forgotten.
My grandfather was a deputy chief in the fire department who was killed on 9/11. And right now, my Uncle Joe is currently the deputy chief of Special Operations Command, which was what my grandfather did. And my Uncle Chuck actually just got promoted to staff chief. So he's a big deal right now. And I'm sure my grandfather is so proud of both of them, just watching them follow his footsteps. And we actually have a 5K in honor of my grandfather every year on Father's Day to remember him and all of those who were killed on 9/11. And I think the Tunnel to Tower Foundation is extremely important because some kids today weren't alive during those attacks, and it's really important to make them aware of what happened to our country on that day.
Now, a big reason why this program was launched was to connect stories like yours to those of the younger generations and how it can be powerful for those to keep that in mind and pursue lives in first responder groups, military members, so on and so forth. So, Danielle, I have an interesting question for you. Since you're all the way in Colorado, the story of 9/11, I'm sure it resonates to few, but it's not as impactful for those here in New York City. Since you've joined us, how are some of the ways that you've been able to talk about the impact of the work that us and other support groups do in making sure that the families of those first responders are supported?
Yeah, so out in Colorado, they really don't know the impacts of 9/11. They know it was an attack and they kind of really just hit the country as a whole, but they didn't know the impacts that the families of those that lost their lives that day. So when I first joined the program, it was kind of interesting to see how teammates kind of responded to it. And some people reached out and kind of wanted to know more. We have a lot of kids from the East Coast on my team. Those kids kind of knew what it was, but they didn't really have those family members and friends that were impacted personally. So it was kind of interesting trying to get that message out to them and show them what this foundation does for those family members and people that were impacted, and all the first responders and military personnel. And it's been a great experience trying to work with that and trying to figure out how to spread that.
So, Connor, you bring an interesting perspective into this group, being that you're a student athlete at a military institute. So, talk to me about that perspective that you have and how stories like 9/11 continue to inspire those who want to serve in the military.
So going to a military school like mine, you know that in the time after 9/11, you're deciding to commit 4 years of life to go into a military school, and then after that, you're committing your life to go overseas and fight for their country. And I feel like it took a certain kind of person that was able to commit to that sacrifice, knowing that they might not come home to their family at the end of their time in the service. And I just feel like it's important that we continue to honor those people that gave their life fighting in the subsequent wars.
Now, all of you guys have been playing sports for a very long time. Stuart, you just finished your athletic career. Talk to me about how you guys feel about sports and the power that it has in bringing people together.
Yeah, I think sports does this better than any other facet of life. I'm biased as a former athlete, but the way sports across the world brings people together for a common goal, anyone in the stands, anyone on the field, coming together and expressing what they love. I think that's very important because it doesn't happen often, I'd say. Tunnel to Towers has much of this amongst their support group, their staff, their participants. And I like to replicate that experience from sports, how people are brought together in that, to the professional world. And I really feel like it's carried on with my involvement in Tunnel to Towers. So I really do see that kind of family environment that sports have, whether you're a fan or a player, just a staff member for a team. I think it's the purest form of community that there is. It doesn't matter who you are, and I really do believe Tunnel to Towers has a lot of that and more.
I was only 4 months old when the attacks happened, but my grandfather was a huge New York Rangers fan, and so was my whole family. And the first game for the New York Rangers after 9/11, Mark Messier wore a firefighter's helmet with a picture of my grandfather on the helmet, and my family just talked about how incredible it was and how the whole country basically came together through sports. And I remember some of the other student athletes were talking about like the baseball games after 9/11, and I think sports really just brought the country back together.
Yeah, I've talked about this specific story before, but in one of the first baseball games after 9/11, Mike Piazza hit a home run at Shea Stadium, and the place went so crazy that it actually felt like the whole country was coming back together and kind of uniting together. And you can like look that video up on YouTube. It's one of the most powerful things you'll ever see. And I think it's just really cool because sports kind of bring everybody together in a way where many other things can't. So I think it's pretty awesome to see a moment like that.
Yeah, I just think sports promote camaraderie and like community. I think some of the best moments come in sports. Like the best community moments come after a game, during a game, stuff like that. Like you mentioned, Mike Piazza. I mean, David Ortiz after the Boston bombing. I think sports just bring everybody together and bring them on a common ground and just supports community.
How can you guys specifically in our program use some of those experiences and those stories to teach those who just don't have the understanding of what really happened that day?
I think the use of social media is definitely a huge help with getting the younger generation involved because so many young kids are on social media. So just a simple post of, for example, the 5K run, the Tunnels to Towers that you guys have, a lot of kids would just want to sign up and just walk and just be a part of something that's so incredible. And I think social media definitely plays a huge role in that.
Yeah, I definitely think just being open. Sometimes it's hard to talk about. Obviously, it's some really emotional stories being spread, but being open to sharing your stories and, like Kayla said, posting on social media, because that's ultimately what everybody sees nowadays. I think that's just a few of the ways that we can do it. Because once people hear our stories and our connections, they tend to gravitate towards it and kind of want to learn more about it. So I think that's really important.
Yeah, I agree. I think a willingness to share stories and listen to other people's stories is crucial for this. I think some people might be a little scared to talk about some stories, but if you have a willingness to share and a willingness to sit there and listen, I think the conversation will be very productive and ultimately good.
Now, Stuart, you were present at the 2021 running of the New York City 5K run and walk. Talk to me about that experience, some of the things that amazed you, the participation with all the runners. What stood out to you the most that day?
That weekend definitely changed my life. I thought it was an amazing experience. The staff was very welcoming. I hadn't been to New York many times, and I got to basically see everything as well as participate in the run. It was very emotional. I mean, what a weekend of events, too. Not just the 5K that morning. It was very educational about Tunnel to Towers, and we actually got to see Leonard Skinner on Friday night, and Tunnel to Towers gave us a great experience that I'll never forget with my mom. But the actual run was amazing. There were thousands of people there. Very moving to see some of the first responders line the streets while we were running. Just really what changed my life was seeing some of the participants there and then how supporters engaged with them and really how we were trying to change their lives for how heroic they've been. I think it was a lot in one weekend, and the events definitely are life-changing.
So part of spreading that message for you guys is attending some of our events. Now, Danielle, Nick, you were just at the most recent tower climb at One World Observatory. Talk to me about your experiences. Nick, you were there as a volunteer working with our staff. Danielle, you were a participant. So Danielle, we'll start with you. Talk to me how that experience was walking up those steps and what kind of thoughts were running through your head as you were doing that.
It was definitely kind of like a surreal feeling walking up the stairs. Like there was a lot of steps that I wasn't expecting kind of. And to think about that, I was just doing it in a t-shirt and shorts. I wasn't doing it in 60 pounds of gear like most firefighters were doing that day. Like all the first responders that rushed into that building, they went to help people. Every emotion kind of like just hits you. Like when you're like waiting on that line, getting ready to like be told you can go up the stairs, like everything was going through my mind. Like what my dad was telling me about like how like he's always like training and stuff, like carrying like the hoses up the wall stairs and all of your gear on. So just being there and being a participant in the event and walking up the same kind of like steps that our first responders would go up. It was kind of a cool experience to see that and feel like all those kind of emotions like hit.
Yeah, from a volunteer perspective, it was one of the coolest things I've ever done in my life. I think the biggest takeaway was just hearing everybody's stories and just really like being there, fully understanding the magnitude of how many people were affected from this day. It's incredible just hearing everybody's stories, seeing everybody. It was a good time. It was a good vibe going on up there, so I really enjoyed it.
Now, Chris, Kayla, and Connor, you guys haven't had the chance yet to be fully participating members of our community at some of these events. What are some of the events that are you most looking forward to? Obviously, we have our 5K run and walk coming up. We have plenty of opportunities for home dedications. What are some of the key programs that you're really looking forward to working in? And what are some of the more exciting events on our calendar that you're most looking forward to being at?
I would definitely want to do a 5K for the Tunnel to Tower Foundation and also the stair climb. I've heard a lot of good things about it, and I'm really excited for the future.
For me, the 5K really sticks out. I'm actually like already looking into my schedule and trying to see if there's any way I can get home for the events and for that day. I want to be a participant in it so bad. I also want to be there to share my story, because just being in that type of event with everybody sharing the same mindset and being there to support the cause is just like so cool to me. And I can't wait to obviously attend more events past that, but I'm doing everything I can to be at the 5K because that's something that just seems so cool to me.
Yeah, unfortunately, I won't be able to make it in September due to playing a fall sport, but I'm really excited to try and get out to the tower climb next summer. I've done a few of them, not with the Tunnel Towers organization, but I think it would be a blast to get out there. It's part of the Tunnel Towers Foundation, get the story out there, and also be a participant.
So now that you guys have been engaging with others about your role with the foundation, talk about how some of those conversations have been.
Yeah, they've been overwhelmingly positive. I've had such a great experience being an advocate. All my conversations with kind of fellow athletes, as well as really ones that are personally affected, military veterans, first responders. I really think there's a general appreciation for what we do in this program, but really our mission is to kind of bring general education of what we do at Tunnel to Towers. Certainly we want to create new donations to contribute to what we do and really change people's mindsets for what are things that you can be proud of and actions that you can be proud of. And I think Tunnel to Towers embodies that better than anyone. And then lastly, I think just the way other athletes are using their NIL rights, expressing who they are through who they associate with and support. But all the conversations have been amazing. I had a fundraiser for the 5K that I attended last fall, and we raised some few $1,000s, mostly friends and family from back home, but also people I've never met. So it's contagious, and I truly believe that. Just kind of getting the word out, as much effort you put into this is how much you're going to get back, but also it can have an exponential effect, just people having different conversations that started from what they saw from a student athlete advocate. So
you've had some experience working through our social media channels. Nick, Chris, you did Instagram takeover days last year. Talk to me about that experience, and then talk to me about other ways that you think that we can get more people involved with those social media platforms.
Yeah, the takeover was one of the coolest things. I had all of my friends involved asking what the next video was going to be. Everyone was just looking forward to it. My professors knew about it. It was just like when that day came, everybody knew what was happening, and everyone was supporting me and asking me what was going to happen and all that stuff. So that was really cool. It was definitely a really cool day. I would love to see more of those. Love to see what everyone else is doing. I think that was just one of the coolest things I've done, especially on social media. So that was cool.
Yeah, like Nick said, that takeover was a ton of fun to do and be a part of. My whole team, pretty similar to Nick, they all wanted to be in it. They all asked how they could be in it or how they could make it better. So that was really fun. Definitely think that we should give one to all of the athletes because it's really cool to see how each athlete is different and what their days look like playing different sports and different seasons. So that's definitely something that we could do.
Now, Kayla, Danielle, Connor, you guys haven't had the chance yet to really take over our social media channels to give our followers more perspective on your day to day as a student athlete. What are some of those opportunities that you're most looking forward to doing? What are some key and interesting ways that you can drive that awareness up on your campuses?
Yeah, I think doing Instagram takeover would be an amazing opportunity because I know even after just doing the post after I was accepted as an advocate, I had kids come up to me on campus, ask me about it. And I think going to a military school is a little bit of a different experience that I think it would be good for the viewers to see and see what happens at a military school and how that ties into everything.
So, that being said, the real mission of this program is to drive the following from the younger generation student athletes or just the younger adults in general. So, talk to me about how this program could primarily focus on gaining that attention from that younger generation.
I think Tunnel to Tower is already doing a great job by having this program in general. That's a great step to kind of having younger people never forget, first of all, and contributing to the cause specifically. Really engaging with social media and some of the new kind of mediums that are out there that young people spend so much time on today, but also just stressing the importance of something like this and who America's real heroes are for people that might not have even been alive for the actions of people on 9/11 in particular, like Stephen Siller. Really educating folks that are young, and the best way to do so is kind of keeping up with what those mediums are, and that's what we're here to help with. We're already doing a great job of it, I think, and you as well, Nick and Larry and the rest of the team. So, yeah.
So there you have it. That concludes the open discussion portion of this roundtable broadcast. At this time, we would like to kick off a new segment here called Ask the Advocates, where some of our great Tunnel to Towers followers and donors prepared some questions for our ambassadors. First, we have Danielle. You just finished participating in the 2022 New York City Tower Climb. Tell us a little bit about some of your favorite experiences from that day.
Well, I think it was a great opportunity to complete something for the Tunnel to Towers Foundation that I had the opportunity to participate in with my brother. And it was a really great experience for us both. And to see the support and the way the community came together was really cool to see. And it was just an overall great event to be a part of.
Thank you. The next question that we have for Connor. Connor, you mentioned your aspirations to be working in the United States Army. Tell us what it means to be a proud American.
Going to a military college has always been a dream of mine. Started off when I was younger, wanted to go to West Point, and now to be able to live out those dreams and go to the Virginia Military Institute kind of just puts it all together to be able to, after my 4 years of college, go on to serve in the Army and help those in need, not only as a soldier but also as a doctor. It's just a great opportunity.
Chris, what did your team think about you being in the Student Athlete Advocate Program? And did it encourage others to do their part and apply themselves?
Yeah, my team absolutely loved it. They showed tons of support. I think I had pretty much every guy on our team ask me where they could donate or get a T-shirt, kind of to spread the message and support, which was really cool. It also led to my high school coach reaching out and asking how they could support as well. So I know they did something over there. And it's just been really special. My coaches bought into it and loved it as well. The overall reaction has been really good.
Thank you, Chris. Nick, how can the younger generation give back to veterans and first responders?
I think, especially with this generation, I just think being aware of the sacrifice they made, respecting it, and always just trying to do good. What their sacrifice was is unimaginable. So I think just being aware of it and being conscious of it and respecting it is really the biggest thing.
This next question goes out to Stuart Head. So, Stuart, now that you're a former athlete and you just wrapped up your football career at Appalachian State, what are some of the things that you miss the most about being an athlete? And what are some of the attributes of being an athlete that you bring into your current position where you work right now?
I think being part of a team is very special, and sports in general is such a great experience to where you get that love for each other for a common goal. It doesn't matter. External circumstances don't matter. And I really kind of miss the locker room. I miss being on that team that's got a great culture. That being said, at my job professionally, we have a great culture as well. And I think that's important for people to always find great fits for themselves. And I have, and hopefully always will. And I'm trying to keep that as a priority moving forward. I definitely miss sports. I would love to go back and live it twice. But obviously that's not possible, and I'm just going to try to keep moving forward with things that make me feel the way sports did, and I do feel like that with Tunnel to Towers. I do feel that with my job right now, and really just finding parallels that I enjoyed so much in sports for the rest of my life.
Thank you, Stuart. And this last question goes out to all of you guys who want to take a little crack at answering this one. What do you guys look forward to the most in the events that Tunnel Towers will run for the rest of the year and years to come?
So definitely for me, for the last 4 years, pretty much every summer, I've been away from home. I haven't really been in New York at all, so I've actually been unable to attend any events the past couple of years. So I know personally for me, I'm super excited to get more involved when I'm home, and I can't wait to attend events and just help spread the message of doing good with everybody else in the future.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Chris that I've only been to one event so far, and it was a great experience. So I cannot wait to just get out there and keep helping out with different events and meeting new people, having good conversations, and keeping the legacy going. So
I think I'm really excited about trying to get some events like out west in Colorado, because I've definitely noticed that they're not really as aware. Like, we were overall impacted like as Americans on that day, but you kind of see it more so in the communities around like the tri-state area. So I think trying to get like events out in Colorado and being part of that would be definitely what I'm going to be looking forward to.
I agree with Danielle. Going to school in Virginia, I have a lot of teammates from Alabama, Florida, out west, and a lot of people, when they heard I was representing TDT, they were asking me, what's that? Like, what do they do and everything? So I think it would be good to spread events around across the country to get more support behind it, because obviously everyone knows 9/11, but not everyone knows about what's still going on and how people are still out there trying to help.
Thank you all, and that concludes the Ask the Advocates portion of this broadcast. If you're a current collegiate athlete who wants to join the Tunnel to Towers team, please visit the link below on the screen to apply and find out more about this new initiative. Here is a short PSA on how you can do your part to help our nation's greatest heroes and support their families.
This is my dad.
This is my grandfather.
This is my dad.
This is my dad.
This is my dad,
These are my grandfathers.
one of America's heroes on 9/11.
The Tunnel to Towers Foundation is helping heroes like him by providing mortgage-free homes to fallen first responder and Gold Star families.
We need your help to continue to support and honor these heroes.
Learn how you can support those who gave life and limb for our country at t2t.org.
Before we wrap up this broadcast, I'd like to thank all of our student athletes for being incredible participants in this broadcast today. Your answers were fantastic and very in-depth, and we can't wait to do this again with you all soon. Also, we'd like to give a shout out to all of our followers and donors for viewing today's broadcast and showing support year-round in making this foundation what it is today. We'd like to remind you all that our biggest fundraiser of the year is right around the corner. Join us on Sunday, September 25th for the 21st running of the Tunnel to Towers 5K Run and Walk in New York City, where thousands of participants will get to retrace Stephen Siller's final footsteps and commemorate the 343 FDNY firefighters, law enforcement officers, and thousands of civilians who lost their lives on September 11th. Proceeds from the event support the Foundation's programs, including those benefiting first responders and catastrophically injured service members. We thank you all for joining us today for this broadcast. Have a great evening, and shall we never forget and always do good. Good night.